What's up guys, Deroir here with the third part of my comprehensive review of Path of Fire. In this video I will be dealing with the overarching thematic of guilds. For Path of Fire, it seems like the guild system and everything surrounding it was completely sidelined, even though on the surface and throughout the promotional material it seemed to me like guilds would be getting some extra attention. However, all we got was, well, the promised guild hall with no overall purpose, which I'll explain in a minute, and a few decorations. There was nothing hidden under the surface of the advertisement, I guess. Now, this wasn't the only aspect of the game which was sidelined, and many might be inclined to point towards PvP and World vs. World immediately, to which I'll point out that Path of Fire was heavily advertised as being PvE content rich. Besides, both World vs. World and PvP are more heavily influenced by the addition of the new elite specs than they are by a new map, and also both World vs. World and PvP have lately been in a constant flow of changes and additions, which won't necessarily change going forth, but yeah. That said, guilds and guild functionalities have not had a shake-up since the introduction of guild halls with Heart of Thorns, and most functionalities such as guild missions have not been changed or had any addition to them since they were introduced approximately 4 years ago. Additionally, during the developer AMA for Path of Fire, we were told that currently there is no dedicated guild team working on guild functionalities. Now, I for one definitely see the potential that guild functionalities carry with them in terms of not only bringing people together, but also to give those same people an added sense of purpose to having or being part of a guild. And so I heavily believe that the guild systems could and should at least get some attention. But with Path of Fire, we got none of that. With Path of Fire, we got the Windswept Haven Guild Hall, which I will admit probably is one of the most beautiful guild halls we've seen to date. Not that the pool is very large, but regardless, it came with nothing extra, except for the fact that all the merchants and usable things are much more compactly located compared to the Heart of Thorns guild halls. Mainly though, the Gilded Hollow came with two big letdown, one of which was actually that it came with no new weapon sets or even minis, even though I don't care about minis or any other reward exclusive to that guild hall and the owners of it. Both the Gilded Hollow and the Lost Precipice from Heart of Thorns came with different colored versions of their weapon sets. The Windswept Haven lets you buy these recipes though, but the harvesting nodes don't give you the exclusive materials needed to actually craft them. Instead, these have been replaced by obsidian shards, so there's that. Secondly, there is no additional building for guilds to work towards building either. Not even individual upgrades to the already existing buildings. In Arena's defense on the first point though, I guess we can kind of get into the conversation of whether or not certain buildings or functionality should even be added to the guild hall. Personally, I would advertise something like having a DPS golem arena in the guild, which for the record would be freaking awesome, but even redundant things like the mount stable, which actually is in the Windswept Haven, would add a new level of guild-wide progression, especially if you could leave your mini pets there as well. Now, that'd be fun to see, wouldn't it? On the second point though, the extra upgrades for already existing buildings, I can easily think of a ton of possible options. For example, add more decorations and obstacles for the arena, add more guild enhancements like the XP and Karma boosters to increase the cap from 10% to maybe 15%, by also adding a guild World vs. World and or PvP pip to the building upgrades, possibly even map specific currency enhancements. One of my favorite actually would be to add some of the Living World gathering notes like Orient Pearls, Fire Orchids and Bloodstone Rubies into the guild halls, which would be earned through spending large quantities of those same currencies. These could even slowly be added with the Living World updates to continuously add a sense of progression for guilds to come together for. Literally anything would be better than not adding a single upgrade to the guild hall. To add another final gripe I have with the hall itself, which is actually the main reason why I haven't switched my personal guild hall to the Windswept Haven, regardless of it being super beautiful, is that the majority of the surfaces of the Windswept Haven are crooked sand dunes and are therefore extremely unfit for a whole lot of decorations as it stands. As an avid decorator of my guild hall, I very much prefer and actually scour the environment for flat surfaces to decorate on. So yeah, my main reason though for actually wanting the Windswept Haven is not so much the environment itself, it's actually just the stunning skybox that you see at night. But that is not enough for me to weigh the negatives. And so in the end, we're left with what is a beautiful guild hall with no real substance to this edition. Now, some of you may think that I may have been overly harsh in my assessment of the guild hall, to which you might be partially right. I just think that guild functionalities could be so much more than they currently are, and so I wanted to share my criticism on the topic. One positive thing I can add though here at the very end is the inclusion of some of the coolest decorations we've seen added to the roster ever. We've got awakened bone walls, forged walls and pylons, giant Alonian tents and windmills, and loads more. I've really enjoyed playing around with these and have used them to build my temple and commemoration of Balthasar and Path of Fire in my own guild hall, as well as an underworld thematic kind of altar for Grenth and a surrounding graveyard. Now, I would have loved to have seen more decorations come into the game. I personally think that it's a huge shame that we don't generally see many more decorations added. For Path of Fire though, I would have at least have loved to have seen the addition of the Abaddon statue to the mix with the rest of the gods. Seriously though, like, where is the Abaddon statue, you guys? Or even like a Palawa Joko statue. They're literally littering the entirety of the domain of Vabi. I'd also love to just have had a bigger variety of the branded and awakened decorations, or even like silly stuff such as the refugee tents, umbrellas, these no mounts allowed signs, or these freaking mounted Hydra heads. But even these awesome decorations come with a downside, because each of these new decorations require an account bound token purchased only with the new map currency called trade contracts, which means it cannot be sold, bought, transferred, or shared in any way with other players. This forces scribes of a given guild to farm this currency personally to craft decorations for the guild, unlike every other token in the game, which can be freely deposited by any player of the guild to the guild for scribes to use. These decorations do not allow guilds to fully work together in their creation. Bottom line, sure, the Windswept Haven is beautiful, but it has no substance, and that's what bothers me. It feels like an uninspired functionality added to the game just for the sake of adding something. And that ideology really rubs me the wrong way, especially when we consider that there are so many extra options that they could have gone with, even just minor things. And so to be honest, I don't really have much more to say on the matter. I feel like they could be doing so much more that they just aren't doing, and they aren't showing any signs of actually wanting to do. And so yeah, from my perspective, amongst all the functionalities and features we got with Path of Fire, guilds, the guild hall, and guild functionalities in general are by far the most lackluster subject to talk about. And that is a huge shame to me. And with that, I think I've rounded up all of my thoughts on the matter. Next time around, we'll be talking about the achievements, the rewards, and the bounty system in Path of Fire. So be sure to check that out. For now, thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'll see you in the mists.